Hey everybody, it's Paul from Alexander Knife Sharpening and Laser Engraving. Update on the xTool P3. I've time coded this video for you, so if you want to jump around to different parts, feel free to do that. For those that want to see the setup of the RA3, I've refilmed that, even though I had it in other two videos. Now that we have a new update to the software, I figured I would time code it. So if you don't need to see the setup, just feel free to skip to the next parts. I did two engravings, one using the auto mode, one using the manual mode. The updates to the software have been fantastic, and everything's working great with this machine right now. And I just wanted to let you know that, so you don't have to sit through the entire video if you don't want to. The first around 10 minutes is just showing how to set up your RA3 and connect it to your machine. And then I do two different glass engravings, one using full auto mode to test that because they did some updates to the software, and then I did another one using full manual mode. All right, so that's the update for you, and feel free to jump around the time codes if you want to. They're right in the bottom. Just click where it says more and you'll see the time codes if you want to go to a specific section. All right, everybody, it's Paul from Alexander Knife Sharpening and Laser Engraving, and I am back with my xTool P3. We just had a big update, and I can now test out the Rotary again because it did actually say that one of the updates was to the Rotary tool. So I'm hoping the issues I was having before with some crazy things going on with the text will be resolved. And let's get started here. I'm going to quickly again show you just the setup, how easy it is to set up this RA3 on the P3. It's very, very cool. Comes in a nice little box. First, I'm going to pull out my base plate. Then I'm going to take my motor and I'm going to attach that to the base plate. It's just got little pins. So these little slides right into those little pins. It has a designated spot right here in the middle on the far right side of the laser where this will slide into. I'm going to need my chuck. And I'm just going to pull this over here so you can see it. And again, the chuck is just really great. It has these nice little magnetic slide-ins. So if you've ever used one of the previous rotaries or a rotary from a different laser, this is just such a great design, having it all be magnetic. Normally you're unscrewing things if you have to change size, and there's nothing more annoying than you've screwed everything in and then you need to go to the next bigger size. You don't have to do that with this because everything here is magnetic. Your little pins slide in, they're magnetic. The entire thing literally takes seconds to set up and break down because of these little magnetic pins that just drop in like that. So all I have to do, I take my power cord, I have to plug it into the back of my rotary. The X on the cable points up, and then I slide this right into its designated spot. And that's in there. Now, we weren't sure the last time whether we were getting some movement, and that's what could have possibly been causing some of the problems. I don't think it was from the movement. I don't think we moved, but I did notice, if you'll see here, you can get a little bit of side-to-side shake. The way that we had the failure of the text, it would have had to have been moving forward and back. And, you know, technically it's possible. So my solution to that was to take these little ratcheting clamps that come with your P3, and these simply just clamp on. But these are very cool little tie downs. These little ratcheting hold downs are pretty neat. I'll show you one I 3D printed too that I like. Just two of those. Make sure they're clamped on there good, and you're good to go. I also found these, which I could print with my 3D printer. Got a little triangular lock in there. And these just simply work by snapping on. And then you can slide these kind of into place, and they're nice and snug. Just another way to do it. All right, and now I can use my support piece here. There we go. That's a little bit easier. Okay, that's all done. And you got lots of different connectors in here, and I also love they gave you a roller too with its own separate connector, so you can hook that up real quick. And they give you a spirit level, also good to have. And I love that they put it in a nice little magnetic box that you can click and then just move out of your way. I'm storing mine on a shelf underneath my machine. So pretty fast for the setup there. I'm going to power up the machine now. On buttons in the back right. It has auto detect. So a lot of times on auto, it will recognize that the RA3 is plugged in. It's saying lift. You can hear some little music playing. It's interesting. I'm going to turn on auto mode. Okay, there's auto mode. Saying ready, close lid. Let's see here. It should detecting material. RA3 detected, so it knows that I have the rotary attached now. Now, one thing I've never done with this machine, I've never engraved any glass with it. I usually engrave my glass on my UV laser. I got a whole bunch of bottles and things I've been saving. Let's try and do some glass engraving with the P3. So I'm going to grab some glass. All right, so this is just a generic, regular clear bottle. But one thing that you could do that I have done before is a lot of the restaurants around here like to use their old wine bottles for water bottles. And I have engraved wine bottles with like their logo or a letter so that they can use them for that. So that's a kind of a cool use that you can do with your laser. That could be fun. Now, this time I'm just going to mount this on the back end here. I'm leveling my piece out so that's nice and level right there. And I'm just going to tighten this down now. And that's not in enough. So this is where having these magnets is fantastic. I'm going to show you how quick I can make adjustments here. So this is not tight enough. So I'm just going to pull this whole thing out. Now normally, like I said, I would be having to unscrew this. If I was using an RA2 or, some other lasers rotary tool. But with the RA3, no need. Simple couple clicks here, pull a few magnets off, reposition them. Put my bottle in here nice and flush. Now I am giving it a good squeeze. I want to make sure that's nice and tight. And now I'm going to check my leveling again here. Now this is a release back here for the angle and pitch. So if you have to adjust your level a good bit, you might want to release this. And then I can change my angle here. And that's good. And then I can lock that in And then I can make sure everything else is locked in, good and tight. And now I should be able to kind of spin this around. And that looks good. There's a little dust in that bottle. All right. Let's see what happens here. We're going to try the all auto mode, which is going to use the LiDAR, which will be really interesting to see if it works, especially with the glass. I'm not sure if it's going to have a problem. What you can do, if it won't read it, what I'll probably do is maybe put some white tape down here, and we'll see what happens. All right, so I'm going to go over to the computer real quick, and we'll pause the camera right here. In xTool Studio, it said that the update was for the RA3 to the software to fix some things going on in there. I had sent them a message. I put out a video showing the failures that I had with the RA3, and I'm hoping they got everything corrected. So we're going to put that to the test right now. I'm going to do a glass bottle engraving. We're going to take a look at the software, see what's been updated. And I have great news. I am so excited about one thing that they did here. They added a framing button, just like I asked for in the other video. And I said we have to have a framing button on the RA3. You got to have that. It's really the only way to be 100% sure that your engraving is going where you need it. And they did add that, and it wasn't there before. I am so psyched. So let's get started, and we'll see if everything's working the way it should be now. In the xTool software, it actually did recommend using a piece of masking tape on a clear bottle so that it could read it. So I took a strip of just masking tape and laid it right down the bottle, and it was able to read it with the LiDAR, and that worked perfectly. So now I just grabbed some holiday stuff. We got Halloween approaching, so I figured let's just put a pumpkin and Happy Halloween on the bottle. Here is the 3D rendition of the bottle and the Happy Halloween on there. So since this is all testing, I didn't need this giant pumpkin, so I decided I'm going to shrink it back down to a more normal size for an engraving on the bottle. Otherwise, we'd be here all day waiting for it. And I'm just also, again, shrinking my text down to a reasonable size to engrave on this bottle. So then I hit preview again so I could get another look at it. And yeah, this looks a lot better and a lot more what I was looking for. Now we can go ahead and get started with the engraving. So now I went into the material setting and I picked the setting for clear glass, high temperature clear glass. And we're just going to use this one. I haven't done any testing at all. This is just, what xTool recommends. So I'm going to click apply and we're going to use their settings and see how it comes out. Hope for the best. All right, so I'm getting ready here to hit process. You'll see it's telling me I can remove the nozzle. They recommend taking the nozzle off. I already did that. So the nozzle's off of my machine. Now all I have to do is go over and hit the large button on the machine and it will start the engraving. Another really cool feature of the P3 is it has two internal cameras, so you can monitor real time what's going on with your engraving from the software. And you can see the head just jogged over and is started. So I'm now switching to the other camera, so it shoots across the bed, and you can see the engraving going on a little bit better from this camera than you could the middle camera. But there you can kind of monitor it if you wanted to watch it from the computer, so you don't have to stand right over your laser and see what's going on. Pretty cool having both of those. And now I time-lapsed the rest of this for you. All right, we are all done. Let's see how it came out. It looks good. Nothing wrong with our letters, nothing wrong with our design. Let's release it. That is great. Look at that. Very cool. All right, good job, xTool. Looks like we may have the auto on the RA3 working just fine. Everything there looks good. I don't see any dropped off text. I don't see anything that's distorted. That is good news. All right, we'll do a couple more tests just to be sure. All right, so now that we saw that the full auto mode worked really well, now we're going to test the manual mode, which is actually the only completely cleared one. The other one's still in beta, so there may be some things that could still happen there. But let's do a regular test, the more typical way that an engraving is done on like a tumbler, a bottle. I grabbed my logo for my business here. I grabbed a glass jar, and my goal here is going to be just to engrave my business logo on this glass jar. It's even still got a label on it, so we're going to do it in the open area in between this glass jar and see if we can fit my logo right in there. We're going to have to do a couple things that we didn't have to do in full auto mode. So right here, I'm setting up for a distance measurement. I have to jog the laser over to the top part of the bottle, and I put a small piece of masking tape up there so that I could bounce the laser onto that masking tape to take that measurement. All right, I'm going to go back over the computer and tell it to take a measurement. All right, so now I'm going to hit the frame button and see where this engraving is going to go. And that looks pretty good, except it's a little bit low. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open this, and I want to take my tape off because I was happy with the location, other than it's just a tiny bit low. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come and move the engraving up a little bit. I'm going to hit framing complete. I'm clicking on my icon, and I'm just going to move this. All right, hitting the big button, and the head will move, and it's going to outline. It's a little hard to see here because of the glass, but it looks good to me. We're not in the paper. All right, so we're going to go ahead with the engraving. So I'm going to turn this off and switch to time lapse so you don't have to sit through the whole thing. All right, it just finished. Let's see what we got. It looks good. Oh, it's perfect. Absolutely perfect, it looks like. All right, gonna release the chuck. Okay, I just threw a gray rag in there so you could see, but the logo's perfect. Look at that. That looks great. And everything's connected. We now have that framing key to make placement really easy, and it nailed it. Absolutely perfect engraving of my logo. It was fast, and it did a really nice job. So that's fun. That's going to make doing glass engraving really easy. That's super. Thank you. Great job, xTool, at correcting the couple of things that were going on there with the Rotary. This is perfect. Now, here's one change I'm going to do in my shop. One thing I hadn't planned on, and if you are thinking of getting the P3, something to consider. You will at times be making trips from your computer to the laser to activate it, to look at the framing. Well, you can see I put my laser all the way up front here and my computer's all the way down there. So I am going back and forth, and as you saw on this manual engraving where I did the measurements, I have to jog that computer head over to the right spot. It would be much easier to do if my computer
was a little closer to my P3. Now, the other option, I could have grabbed my laptop and just worked right from here because it will connect no problem to my laptop. But just something you might want to keep in mind. I love working from my desktop, so I think I'm actually going to move my P3 to where my Galvo lasers are by that window, which is right next to my computer, so that I'm going to have it right there, and I think I'm going to move my Galvo lasers down here. Probably over the weekend or maybe even tonight. But that's my one plan because I do want to be a little bit closer to this so that I can observe it more easily. As always, everybody, in the description of this video below, I will leave links to things like the P3 and the RA3 if you're interested in picking those up. Also, please like and subscribe to the channel if you like the content and like what we're doing here. I also operate a knife sharpening channel, which is my other main channel, has a much bigger following. We're in the process of growing out the laser engraving channel. They used to be combined, but I separated it. I thought that made more sense. So please, if you're interested in the content here, please like and subscribe to the channel. That's a big help. I have a couple other updates. I have some laser engravable foils coming in, which I'm really looking forward to using and testing. And they work perfectly with CO2 lasers. They're actually designed for CO2s. So we're gonna be doing some content on that. And I'm going to also be doing the Norton white tile method. I want to try that on the P3 and see how well that works on here, especially since it's about twice the speed of my other lasers that I normally do my white tiles on. And we'll do an update there. And I have a really cool video I'm going to be showing soon on how you can remove the spacers on those white tiles so that you can get the inexpensive ones. Because I've had people who said to me, oh, I like Home Depot, but they always have the spacers on the sides of the tile. I'm going to show you how easily you can remove those. It's not hard to do at all. And now you don't have to buy expensive tiles. Literally, when I buy a box from Home Depot, they're about 10 cents, 10, 11 cents per tile, which is really inexpensive compared to what I see them on Amazon, where they can be 2 and 3 times, and sometimes even a couple dollars per tile. I see people selling, if you wanted to pick up like just 3 or 4 tiles of one size, it can be ridiculous. Always buying a box from like a big box store is just usually a much better deal. A lot of the tiles have what they call spacers on the side built into the ceramic because they're designed to be put on a floor or in a shower. I'm going to show you how I can remove those pretty easily in a few seconds, and then you don't have to spend a whole lot of extra money on a typical white glazed tile. All right, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great day and a nice weekend, everybody.